Everyone. Happy Tuesday. We're going to get started momentarily. Okay, let's get to it. So first item on our agenda this morning is a resolution confirming Mayor Bliss's appointment of Kenyatta McGill to the Community Relations Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
And we'll just support it. Any discussion? I will say that I know that this is a reappointment.
Correct. This is just a housekeeping from end-of-year appointments. Ms. McGill was in compliance and moved forward with the confirmation of Mayor Bliss.
Wonderful. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it carries. Item 2 is a resolution confirming Mayor Bliss's appointment of
Stefan.
Stefan.
Paluca? Sorry.
We just went over this, I promise.
Sorry, Stefan.
I say Puelka.
Pawelka.
Welcome to the Mobile GR Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Wonderful. Any discussion, Mr. Pawelka?
Madam Chair, I'll just add that I've gotten to know Stefan. He's a neighbor in the Creston neighborhood, is very active in looking for alternative modes of mobility, and had service in the military before he returned back to the city of Grand Rapids. So and he's a member of the Creston Neighborhood Board of Directors as well.
Wonderful. No other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries. Item 3 is a resolution confirming Mayor Bliss's appointment of Melinda Yasasi to the Smart Zone Local Development Finance Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Can I support myself?
Yes.
Support.
Wonderful. Any comments on this item, Commissioner?
I will just say, Madam Chair, that I look forward to serving on this authority. We have a couple of openings, so there was one opening because of a resignation, so I'll serve on that one, and we are also working with GRPS to identify their 2 openings as well, and then we'll have a full board.
Good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries. Item number 4, resolution confirming Mayor Bliss's appointment of Holly Jackson to the General Retirement System Board of Trustees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or around Ms. Jackson?
I'll just add, this is a board that I'm serving on now in Commissioner Moody's absence, and they're just excited to have somebody. I know she's comes from a legal background and has some experience with, I believe, workers' compensation, so they're happy to see a quality applicant come their way.
Wonderful. Thank you. Seeing no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries. Item 5 is a resolution confirming Mayor Bliss's appointment of Holly Jackson to the Police and Fire Retirement System Board of Trustees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any other comments on this, Commissioner? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. All right, wonderful. So now we're on to our current board and commission vacancy list. We'll start with our typical boards and commissions, see if there's any comments there, and then we'll talk about the third ward vacancy. So I think tonight on the night agenda, we only have one resignation, and that is for myself from the Uptown bid and SID. With Commissioner Moody's resignation, he was serving on the Southtown SID, and the mayor and I agreed that it will be important to have commission representation there, and so effectively resigned from Uptown. However, once we fill the third ward vacancy, then Mayor Bliss plans to appoint that person to the Uptown bid and SID. So that's the background around that item. Any other comments or discussion around the other commission boards or vacancies?
So this, Madam Chair, this Community Relations Commission, that will be filled with Ms. McGill. Okay, so sometimes I know the timing of them are off, so that's good.
I do apologize. There's an asterisk. There should be an asterisk next to each appointment that we're currently discussing on the vacancy list, just to say that this will be removed from the list once this meeting or the consent agenda has been approved.
Look at you with your little code.
I like it. Thanks, Daniel. Any other boards or commissions you folks want to discuss or give an update on?
I'll do the slow roll here.
Do the slow roll. Rolling.
Can we go to urban
That's not slow roll.
agriculture?
We'll get there. We'll get the slow roll to urban ag. Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, so So this one goes back to the farmer's market, which we've discussed with Mr. Marquardt. I also did share this one with GRPS as well. And then the member representing the Blandford Nature Center. So is this the person who just resigned the last meeting? They must have been the representative of the Blandford Nature Center. Could we, Daniel, could you confirm with David that we are in communication with Blandford for their replacement liaison? Or their replacement person? Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Slow rolling to the end of our list. Are there any other comments? We are at the end. All right, hearing and
motion.
seeing no more. That's the end of that discussion. So let's talk Third Ward Commissioner vacancy. So I want to start by reminding folks of the process and the timeline that we outlined at our last committee of the whole meeting 2 weeks ago. The application became available on Tuesday, January 23rd, and the applications were due Thursday, February 1st by 5 p.m. Over the course of the February 2nd through the 5th, City Clerk and his office vetted each candidate for eligibility. Eligibility included that they are a resident of the Third Ward for 6 months or more, that they're a qualified elector, and that they are in good standing with the city. And so from the group of applicants, those who passed vetting are the ones that were published as promised yesterday. And those are the names that we will consider and look to schedule interviews for on February 20th. So the plan that we've set is that we will review the applicants today and really talk process a little bit more today. And then we'll use our extended time on the 20th to have an interview with the folks who passed vetting. And I think there are 9 names. So they are already published on the website, and we are in receipt of their full application packets. The full application packets haven't been available publicly yet, and that's one of the items that we'll discuss momentarily. Any questions or anything folks want to reiterate about the process? City Clerk?
Nothing on me, sorry. Nothing for me on the process part.
Okay. Commissioner?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks for reviewing that. Thanks to all who applied, and thanks for people for sharing the information. I know I was at a couple of different community events, and people shared the opportunity. So I have had a chance to review the applicants, and out of the 9 that we have, there are 2 individuals who I believe do not have a complete application. So one of the requirements of the application process, and I don't know if we could go, Mr. City Clerk, to the website, your website that had the information about what was required for application. So what we noted in that process is you're filling out the application, you're answering the questions that we had. I'd have to go back to remember the total number of questions. Okay. And then we asked for individuals to provide 1 professional reference and 2 personal references. I've gone through them, and some people have supplied a letter, and some people have supplied names and phone numbers and emails. To me, some individuals met the requirement, some people went above and beyond. There are 2 applications where I don't see, and I'm happy to, if I'm wrong, if I've missed something, please let me know. I did this eating pizza last night after a long day, like I'm sure you all had too. But I do believe there are 2 that don't have a complete application.
Okay. Thanks for calling that out. I think that we'll have City Clerk look into that as follow-up. Our conversation at Cal was that if folks pass vetting, then they will be invited to an interview. I think you're bringing up a great point, though. If there is an incomplete application, then the application is incomplete, and I think that we need to look at that. So I think after today, if City Clerk can verify if those 2 are incomplete. I don't know. I haven't looked at every attachment just yet because we got these materials yesterday.
I can verify that because this is 1 minute. So I was so focused on living in the city, Third Ward, 6 months, making sure, because obviously we got most of these on the last day, and so going through them, trying to make sure we did all that vetting. I went through, so I have all the original packets and all the stuff. So Commissioner Sassi is correct on that after looking at everything that was provided by the candidates, those were not. So it was on one of them.
The apps are now part of the public record,
That's
so I
correct.
feel confident.
Yep.
I think we don't ever go to those who didn't get vetted because that could be some personal information, just like we don't share names that aren't fully vetted here at this body, because we don't know what might happen for a variety of reasons. But the two individuals that I have noted and that I believe you're confirming are Grace Lasumba and Victor Williams, who did not provide references. I agree with you on the vetting process. I feel that this body, as the committee that's doing this work, to determine who would be interviewed, I would say that those two would not move forward in the interview process based upon not having a complete application from this information that was shared here as part of our communication about the vacant seat.
I think that's fair. Commissioner Robbins?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just given the time that, people were allotted to apply and, obviously there's always a chance and it was the same way for me too when I, signed up to do this job. I think it's important to plan with, some time in advance to expect certain contingencies like that. And if there's an opportunity for the city clerk to provide feedback within the time allotted, then that gives people a chance to course correct. But in this case, hearing that many of these applications came in on the date of the deadline, I don't know that it allows for that flexibility in this case. So I would support moving forward with just the individuals who submitted a complete application.
Okay.
May I ask a process question, Madam Chair?
Sure.
To note that, do we need to make a motion, Mr. City Clerk?
Well, it gets a little interesting here in a subcommittee meeting because the motions that we
We would have already had them prepared.
or we're moving things to consent for the full.
I see what you're saying.
Commission.
I see what you're saying.
So when we did this with the community group doing that, because that's the kind of
So this would be a recommendation coming out of the body.
Correct.
That would go to Commissioner Purdue's part on the 20th. We would interview
Yep.
who we deemed were vetted and then filtered by our process.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything in the.
Yeah.
in
I think
this
today
process.
we are accepting names, talking about who's moving forward. City clerk and his team already did the vetting process, so that's done, and then it's consideration of the full application. And to your point, Commissioner Yasasi, if folks did not complete or submit a complete application, it sounds like the consent of this body, of the subcommittees, that they won't move forward. So that means that we are looking at 7 folks for consideration. So let's talk, so next, on the 20th, we need to think about how much time we want to give folks for each interview. If we want it to be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, considering we have 7 folks. I can't do math that fast, but if we're talking
2 hours and 20 minutes.
based off 20 minutes or 30?
20 minutes.
Okay. Does 20 minutes feel like a good amount of time, or will folks prefer to have at least a buffer for a little bit more? And also remember that there's going to be some transition time, right? Between one candidate and another, bio breaks, things like that.
I think if we make sure that we're clear, what are the questions we want to ask? I think we've talked about that up here. And then I would suggest we give people a certain allotment of time to answer each question, so then we can make that fair for all of the applicants. And then we probably need to give ourselves some breaks and, to your point, transition time. So we're probably we have 4 hours scheduled for that day. If we planned on 3 hours, that would give us some breaks to transition. And then that would give us a little bit of time, for all of us to go back, have that, the process after you go through the interview. And then we could, I think, in a short amount of time, even if it's not by that day, I think we would still have some time, even if it was within the next day or the day after, City Clerk, to forward the names to commission. So I know we had talked about how much time do we get to do that reflection. I think if we wouldn't necessarily have to say, these are the 3 moving forward that night. We could give ourselves a little bit time if needed and still be within the process.
I think that'd be fine.
So I don't know, Madam Chair, if that's of interest to you. I think if we had time to talk after, but I would suggest 20 minutes and with timed questions.
Okay. The process that we outlined said that on the 20th, we would interview applicants, and then 3 final candidates are recommended to the full city commission. So I do think we need to forward names that day to be in line with what
Okay,
you shared.
I'm fine with that. I know the group had talked generally, do we need more time? But I would be fine selecting my 3 that day too.
I would agree with that too. I think initially when we had 11 names come in, I was maybe a little bit nervous, but now that once we consider just the ones that are complete applications, I think that should be plenty of time to get a good sense of who they are and ask them some questions and then have a recommendation for the full body.
All right, so another process question Commissioner Perdue and I were discussing. I don't have a full answer for you, but maybe this is a good way to get direction, is on how the members want to critique or score.
Yeah.
So for the last go round of this, when we used a community group to do the first round of interviews, they all ranked whoever their candidates was. I think we interviewed 10 over a couple days, and then they ranked theirs 1 through 10, and then just looked at the highest numbers. So that's one way of doing it. So then I take your 3 scores and do it that way. We could do a practice of a ranked choice vote to see if we get there too, but we're going with 3 and not just 1, so it makes things a little bit different in a ranked choice.
Yeah.
So those are a couple options, or you just write down 3 names, and if the 3 names are the same in the top 3, or a majority, which is 2 of the 3 of you, say these are the 3. There's different ways to get at this.
I think what's most important, I think that the ranked choice voting is a good option. It simplifies and makes the process a little bit more efficient. I think I want to make sure that we're super clear about methodology before the 20th, though.
Yes.
So what if we rank and we have 5 folks who somehow, if we're doing the point system or we're doing 2 out of 3, our top 3, do we do it 1 round, 2 rounds? So I would like that sketched out a little bit more so that we can all be super clear before we get into deliberations. But I do think that some sort of kind of ranking makes the most sense for this process.
And to that point, I think if we can determine what I think probably 3 questions would be that we would ask all the candidates the same question. And then I was thinking we would then assign a scale. We can do 3 points or 5 points. I'm more of a fan of a 3-point scale, but and then that would help us. Then that could be the quantitative piece that would help with the ranked aspect. And then I think to your point, to prepare for the contingencies of what if, whatever, we all have 2 different top 2s, but we all have the same top 3. So I think that makes sense too.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm
think
giving
with
a
the
real
rank-
answer other than agreeing with you.
Yeah, I think the ranks equate to points as opposed
Yes.
to kind of ranking the response by question in a rubric. I think we'll have our own system for how we decide who our 1, 2, 3 recommendation names that we want to move forward on. But I think we're in agreement that some sort of rank system with contingencies makes the most sense, but we want to see that sketched out a little bit more so we're all super, super clear on what that would be like in terms of methodology. Any comments on that process, Commissioner Robbins?
No, I think that makes sense. Just for my understanding, so would we be, the first time around, would it be a ranking of all 7 individuals and then kind of whittle it down from there? Or are we only ranking maybe our top 3, like submitting? I guess do we have a preference either way that for that?
Thinking.
Yeah, how did you do it last round, City Clerk?
So the last go round, once again, so community members, let's see, how did they do that? Yeah, it looks like each person voted, giving, there was 8 that were checked, and they all ranked them 1 through 8, and then we totaled the points.
Yeah. I think that makes the most sense to me, just to allow for that variability a bit more.
Yeah.
And just FYI, I mean, not that you have the same thoughts and dreams and thoughts together as this group, as the group before did. And it could be the similar situation, could be that, but it was clear when you looked at the 1s, 2s, and 3s versus the 8s and 7s. It was pretty clear.
Yeah.
There was some consensus early on.
Yes.
I think what I'd also like to note is that yes, we should have this process. Everybody gets asked the same questions. I also think there are things that come out of an interview, so for me, I think it is looking at both a quantitative and a qualitative perspective. There could be something that I would hear in their interview process as you and I talked, you see an application, but it's kind of flat, right? You're not getting a sense of who the person is, and so that interview process allows us to be able to do that. So while I agree with the questions and the ranking, I also feel like there is a qualitative piece of, we're all doing this job. We know a little bit, not a little bit, we know what it looks like, what are the realities of it, and I also think there is that qualitative aspect that I would be looking at along with my ranking. So to your point about, I don't want people to say like, oh, it's just it's a score sheet, and then if I get the highest on the score sheet, I'm going to move forward. So I'd like to have some of that subjectivity that would exist when we've hired appointed officials, et cetera.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful.
So just one other process thing, not for this. This is going to be for me, just so you are aware. I'll send a letter. I'll probably put together a letter to all the applicants. I'm letting them know either the ones that won't be moving forward and the ones that did move forward, and then work on times.
Okay. Yeah, great. Okay. Thank you, City Clerk.
So here's another question. So the applicants obviously knew what the process was, and we're looking at the date for the 20th for interviews. If someone's not available, are you open to, if someone is traveling? I don't know the answer to this. I just want to know what if someone says, hey, I'm at a conference that day and I can't make it, are you okay with a video?
No.
I think it depends. If they already, it depends, I think, when it was scheduled.
I just want to make sure when I'm having these conversations, I don't want to have to stop calling people and then find you and then.
I think if someone had travel plans in November that they cannot get out of, let's say it's work-related, it's mandatory, they weren't aware that this vacancy was coming up, they weren't aware of this timeline, it's a little bit outside of their control, I think we need to have
No one has told me anything. I just know when I start calling these things, I know it's like I have knee surgery that whole day or something. There's always.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So I will.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, when people applied, they knew what the dates were, is my thought, so like if they knew that they had travel plans, like that's something that maybe if they would have reached out ahead of time and said like, hey, should I be selected on this date, I'm going to be gone, is there any way I could do it virtually? But at least to my knowledge, I don't know that we received any of those communications, so I would prefer to have it in person as scheduled for the process.
We didn't, but I just wanted to make sure. Trying to think of all those questions I've gotten in the past as I schedule interviews.
Yeah. No, you're right. We did publish the schedule.
Yep.
So I think we did make that clear. Thank you for reminding me of that. So does that give you direction on that?
That does.
Okay. So we talked about who's moving forward. We have 7 names there. You'll update the website, the landing page today. We've talked about how to approach interviews. Because we have a 4-hour block and we have less candidates, and this is an important first round, I think we've heard 25 minutes or 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm wondering if we meet in the middle and kind of plan on 25 minutes per person. In terms of questions, folks answered 4 or 5 narrative questions, and I think we'll decide to pull maybe 2 or 3 of those and then allow for follow-up questions from each of us. So we'll have to do the math on timing just to be mindful of how do we keep folks within that 25-minute block, but having a set of standard questions and then allowing some flexibility for our follow-up and where we're curious.
If I remember right, I may have used the clock.
Oh. Yes, I love that technology, so we'll consider that as well. So that's interview slots. We talked about voting process, but City Clerk will kind of sketch that out a little bit more, taking kind of our conversation as direction and come back. And certainly we will share that and solidify that before we start the interviews on the 20th. I want to talk quickly about making the packets available. I know that there's some personal information, so we might not be able to publish what you sent to us publicly, but certainly I think the resumes and the narrative answers should be published online for the public to have access to and to view. And folks have the opportunity to connect with any of us with any input and feedback, and then certainly there's some public comment on our City Commission regular meeting days that folks can also share feedback as well as call us or email us with any input. So do want to emphasize, though, this is a City Commission appointment, that there is opportunity for public input and public feedback. Okay, so that's packets, voting, questions. I think we got through everything. Any final questions around third ward vacancy appointment process, timing?
Commissioner, do you want to put a deadline on some of the, some of the sketching out so that we all have the time to be able to look at it and?
Certainly. City Clerk, is Thursday a good day for you? Is that enough time, 2 days?
As long as I know a time, yep, I will
Okay.
take care of that.
How about end of day Thursday? That way we'll have still a week and a half to.
We were fine if we have questions or stuff.
All right, so so we said 25 minutes, so with a 5-minute buffer,
Yep.
so,
So that should bring us to almost our full 4 hours with still some wiggle room. Okay. Any other comments or questions around the vacancy process?
No, thank you.
Thank you each for your input. Thank you for your hard work behind the scenes preparing to this point and the hard work to come and getting this across the finish line. I'm really excited to get this vacancy filled and have full representation for the third ward and full representation on our boards and subcommittees as well. If there is nothing else, we will adjourn at 8:27. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We'll call the fiscal committee to order here at 8:31. And we'll begin with the first item on our agenda, which is a recommendation to approve Mobile GR marketing agreement with Laugh Fest for 2024 for the total amount of $15,000.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Casper, good morning.
Shocked myself. Good morning.
Morning.
So this is a request to approve $15,000 worth of marketing efforts of Mobile GR services, such as Dash and affordable parking options during the Laugh Fest 2024 festival in March. Mobile GR will be designated as the official presenting partner for accessibility and volunteers, with information provided via the Laugh Fest website, social media channels, volunteer trainings and T-shirts, as well as an opening video played before each of the Laugh Fest events.
Great. Colleagues, any questions?
Great that it's that time of year again.
And how many days is the Dash Bus running these days?
7 days a week now.
Very good. Just wanted to get that out there
Cue
again.
the clapping.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item 2 is a resolution approving a contract of $15,000 with Grand Valley State University for the study of economic development impacts of arts and culture sector in Grand Rapids.
Moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Matthews, good morning, sir.
Sure. So this is pursuant to the previous conversation that we had. We had a group from the arts sector come present to the commission some of the work that they've been doing over the last few years, and one of the outcomes of that conversation was a desire to take a look at what the overall economic impacts are for the sector. That conversation started really focused on the impact of nonprofit arts organizations. In collaborating with those arts organizations, we've gone back and forth on the scope of work, added some things that we felt like will give a better picture overall. That includes an evaluation of the arts industry as a whole, in particular those that are working in creative artistic pursuits, so that we can get a better picture, and then also take a look at Grand Rapids relative to comparables and some of the federal statistics that are out there.
Very good. Questions, colleagues? Commissioner Sassi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you have a timeline of when this will be started and completed?
Yeah, their hope is to have this completed by June.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
sir. Item 3, resolution authorizing a budget substitution of $26,929 for water main replacement in Omena Drive from South End to Burton Street.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Berkman, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this project will replace the existing water main, upsizing it to provide sufficient fire flows to that area, as well as new service lines and resurfacing the street. Also add storm sewer upgrades, replacing portions of deficient sidewalks and new ADA ramps. Commission awarded this contract to Wyoming Excavators in December of last year with the total project authorized cost of $1,097,722. Requesting your approval today of this substitution between sewer system fund project accounts to provide the necessary funding for that portion of the project.
Very good. Questions? All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Item 4, non-represented employees ordinance, amending section 3.2 of ordinance 2022-40, new classification, mobile GR director.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Eddy, good morning.
Good morning, Fiscal Committee. So at the request of the Deputy City Manager, a new classification titled Mobile GR Director is being requested. Over the past few years, this title was used as a working title, but was never a formalized classification. Recently, I worked with the Deputy City Manager to create the formalized classification and job description that now accurately reflects the essential functions and responsibilities of the role and captures the current needs of the Mobile GR Department within the city. This classification and salary range was reviewed and approved by the Civil Service Board on January 23rd.
Very good. Questions? Yes.
Thank you. One comment. Thanks, Ms. Eddy. At our civil service meeting, we did discuss this, as was noted. The HR department will also be looking.
Program specialist, or excuse me, program inspector, new classification, administrative support specialist.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
Thank you. At the request, and I have two on this one, at the request of the Parks and Rec Department, the HR staff completed a classification and comp study for the Financial Analyst 2 position within the Parks Department, and it was concluded that the body of work did not align with the current classification.
We're on the industrial pretreatment specialist, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you good?
All right, switch it up. At the request of the Environmental Services Department, we completed a classification and compensation study for the IPP inspector, and it was concluded that the job description should be revised to accurately reflect the essential functions of the role, including the complex role of issuing discharge permits. These additional requirements have resulted in an increase in salary range. The old salary range was a 21 AH, and the recommendation is to move it to the 23 AH range. This position was reviewed and approved by the Civil Service Board on January 23rd, 2024.
Very good. Questions? All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 6, APA ordinance amending Section 4.2 of Ordinance 2022-33, new position, Building Code Enforcement Supervisor.
So one
So
quick
moved.
thing, yeah.
So moved.
Moved and supported.
So one quick thing, we went to the next one, but the one I was just on had two.
Okay.
So the IPP inspector as well as the one for Parks and Rec. So if you go back up one for the GREIU ordinance.
Second is loading here.
You looking at that, Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, the subject line was
Is-
the motion did not include the second classification, even though in the body of the description, it talked about the Parks and Rec person. So that's why I was only reading the motion that was available to Mr. Clerk. How should we handle that, sir?
I think it's fine because,
Make a quick amendment?
well, no, because it's in the
It's in the full resolution.
It's in the full resolution, but let me pull it up just to make sure. Right here. So you see the first paragraph talks about that one, and then we go to the resolution.
All right. We're good then.
Yep.
All right. So it's still approved because it was included in the full resolution.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Very good. Item 6, APA ordinance, section 4.2 of ordinance 2022-33, new position, building code enforcement supervisor.
So moved.
Moved and supported.
Thank you. So at the request of the Building Inspections Division and due to the changing needs of the department, a new classification, Building Code Enforcement Supervisor, has been created. This role will directly oversee the division's enforcement services, support Kate's process, ensure timely inspections and follow-up, ensure inspections are conducted properly, and advance enforcement efforts when appropriate. This role will also provide advice to the inspectors and resolve citizens' complaints. This classification was reviewed and approved by the Civil Service Board on January 24th, 2024, and the salary range that this one is being placed in is salary range 14.
Very good. Colleagues, questions? All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7, bid list resolution for February 6, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Sainer, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. We have 6 items on the bid list today, all of which I would describe as fairly standard items. I will just very briefly touch on a few of them. The first item we have is for Phase 2 of our priority pruning initiative with the Parks Department Forestry Service, just to keep that on track with the time frame that's been laid out. The second item I want to highlight is just next step of West Michigan. That is for general maintenance and property cleaning assistance services for Parks and Rec, Mobile GR, and Public Works. If you'll remember, that's a continuation of our 2017 pilot of the Hope Through Work program. And then the last item I want to point out is we are replacing 10 gas-fueled vehicles with fully electric Leaf SV Plus vehicles for our fleet department.
Very good. Colleagues, questions about that? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 8, Comptroller's Report for period January 10, 2024 through January 23, 2024, in the amount of $19,171,580.91. Mr. Comptroller.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the period referenced there, for that period, we released a total of cash payments of approximately $19.1 million. That amount includes just over $6 million for our employee payroll expense and approximately $278,000 for income tax warrants. In terms of quantity, 132 income tax refunds were issued, and 1,019 accounts payable checks and also electronic payments were issued. And the details of those checks and electronic payments are contained on the following pages for the ones that exceed $20,000. Also this morning, we have our December fiscal year-to-date travel report, which details travel spend by department for the first 6 months of the fiscal year. And that report is showing so far that we've spent just over $860,000, or 29% of our overall budget. And then the last report we have for this morning is also our December fiscal year-to-date monthly funds report. This report provides a very high-level summary of some of the drivers of revenues and expenditures and some key city funds. And we make this report available to the public on the city's website.
Very good. Colleagues, questions for the Comptroller? All right, hearing none, that report will be received and filed. And our final item on the agenda this morning is the Treasurer's Report for the period January 10, 2024 through January 23, 2024. Mr. Treasurer.
Good morning, Commissioners. With our report this week, we're showing you that we have $577 million invested, roughly at purchase yield of 3%. It's come down a little bit because we're really starting to place some more money out. We're finding out that we've got a lot of maturities that are coming due. We've done a lot of investing activity over the past couple of weeks, filling in some of those gaps for this upcoming year. So usually timing it with debt service and payroll, but right now rates are still high. We're going to see that continue on, as we had Chairman Powell has come out and said, we're not interested in lowering the rates right now. The economy is still showing signs of being relatively strong, and we don't know where the glide path is, but really what they're coming out with is there's more likelihood now that it's not going to change in March, won't change until possibly May at the first time. But again, he is very steadfast that until there are more clear-cut signs, we're not lowering interest rates. And so, as we talk about that, then it kind of dovetails into some of the stuff that I've done. I was out in Washington, D.C. with the Government Finance Officers Association, and one of our initiatives was to go and lobby some of our senators. So I was able to meet with Senator Murphy out of Connecticut, Senator Stabenow from Michigan here, about thanking them for their support on having the advanced refunding of municipal bonds, and also their continued support of tax-exempt bonds, which is a key structure in our finance and how we issue debt. The problem is not the issuance of the debt. The problem is having too many projects in too small of a time frame to be able to accomplish everything. We just saw in Cranes this morning was an article on Kent County moving their employees to a new site when they build. So now that's going to put pressure on what is the capital structure and capital plan for City Hall. What happens when those 180 workers leave, and is that going to cause a reexamination of our space? I know that we have a facility structure in place, and we're going to get more information on that later this year. But there are a lot of very, very big projects that we have to be careful on how we're going to look at structure the funding of those and how the city participates. Because it's not only these outside projects that might come into play, it's got to be how is that going to factor into our own essential services and our own bonding and our own debt service. Think of it this way: if I allowed my bride to go out at Christmas time and sign up for every credit card discount she could get at every retail store, my credit rating's going to take a hit. The same thing's going to happen if we overbond for different items. It's going to be a struggle for us to maintain our AA rating, and it'd be even harder to go to AA+. Because it really is going to be it's too much debt in too short of a period of time. And now we're talking about the rates staying high. And so that's going to change a lot of the dynamics of how these projects are going to be funded. So we've got to be very cautious to make sure that all the financial decisions are right going forward. because it could very easily turn south if any one of these projects somehow fails or goes over budget, or, as we're trying to plan this stuff out, is our capital plan fully 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, so that as you're approving those budgets, you're helping us set up our organization for success in future years. So I think this is going to be a really interesting budget period because there's a lot of competing projects. Not only the projects, but then Housing Next came forward and said we're going to need 14,000 units by, was it 2030 or 2027? Can't remember the year, but even if that's $200,000 a unit, that's $3 billion of investment just to get the housing right-sized. So where does that come from? And how does the city play a role in that type of structure along with all these capital projects? So that's my cautionary tale right now. We've done as much as we could with the government finance officers to move this forward, and we're blessed to have Senator Stabenow, even though she's retiring at the end of this year. She's been fully supportive and is one of the sponsors of those tax-exempt bonds items. So we're very thankful for her support in Washington for all these years.
Great. If you can figure out how to build units for $200,000, I should talk to you about housing.
The numbers were round and easier to say.
All right. Any questions for the treasurer? All right. Hearing none. With that, that report will be received and filed, and we'll conclude the meeting here at 8:48. Thank you, everyone.
Staff and colleagues, we will go ahead and get this meeting started. It's 9:15. We've got, 9 items on the agenda today, so we'll go ahead and jump in here. Item number 1 is a resolution scheduling a public hearing on February 20th, 2024 for comment on proposed site improvements at Bike Park for submission of a $300,000 Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant application with a total project cost estimated at $500,000. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Marquardt?
Good morning. This is a grant submittal that we are making to the state of Michigan. Applications are due by April 1st. The city will find out whether or not we receive an award by December of 2024. And if successful, grant awards would then be dispersed to the organization in June of 2025.
Great, thanks. Colleagues, any questions?
Nope.
No, hearing none. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That carries. Thank you. Resolution number 2 is a resolution setting February 20th, 2024 as the date to consider an ordinance rezoning properties bounded by Leonard Street to the north, 6th Street to the south, US 131 to the west, and the Grand River to the east from the TN-TCC, which is Traditional Neighborhood Transitional City Center Zone District, to the TN-CC, Traditional Neighborhood City Center Zone District.
So move.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. We've got Mr. Kent here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor. Good
Hi.
morning, Commissioners. Before you this morning is a resolution requesting the rezoning of the properties from TCC to City Center. Is requesting to facilitate redevelopment consistent with the redevelopment trends, the needs of existing businesses, and the need for housing. The existing City Center zoning district will currently allows for 5 stories by right and up to 7 stories with bonuses. The City Center zoning district will allow for up to 20 stories in height. And additionally, the City Center district currently doesn't require on-site parking, which the City Center zoning district does. We've had a couple of projects go in front of the Planning Commission for reductions in parking. So we're looking to rezone this area. In late 2023, the Planning Department held 2 separate meetings with approximately 25 property owners or individuals who represented the businesses to discuss the proposed rezoning and implications for their properties and businesses. The Planning Commission considered the rezoning request at the public hearing held on December 14th, 2023, and unanimously recommended approval of the request based on the neighborhood's context, pattern, trends of development, and adjacent zoning districts. I'd take any questions if you have any.
Colleagues, any questions?
No question. I think.
No, I'll just add, I'm excited about this. I think based on the proximity to the city, it makes sense, and given our need for housing, hopefully this will move some of those projects along sooner than later. So I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries. Thank you. All right, thank you. Resolution number 3 is a resolution approving an option agreement and the eventual sale of 1125 Alpine Avenue Northwest pursuant to City Commission Policy 900-63. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Closer?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
This is just the standard resolution we have approving a 12-month option agreement for the applicant, Westtown Jubilee, here, which is proposing to build a 1,420 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath, single-family home for sale to a household earning between 60 and 80% AMI. This would provide them with 12 months to finalize their construction plans, their building permit, and their financing for the project.
Great, thank you. Any questions, colleagues? Nope. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries, thank you. Resolution number 4 is a resolution approving an increase to the professional services agreement with Clark Construction Company for construction of city facilities at 1500 Scribner in the amount of $8,928,853 with a total amount not to exceed $27,959,737.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Mr. Berkman?
Yes, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. As we seek to relocate services off of the 201 Market site to make way, of course, for the amphitheater project, we're taking a phased approach to the bidding of this project. We have our construction manager, Clark, on board that is helping us through this process, but that helps us to save time by allowing procurement of long lead time items. So we're bringing packages before you as soon as they're available. I know you know this, but for anyone who may be watching, the new location will provide an updated and modernized home for our Public Works Administration, streets, refuse, fleet maintenance, parks administration and operations, and recreation, forestry, facilities administration, our community's children, Office of Special Events, city clerk selection, storage, and some a number of training spaces that can be utilized by HR as well as other city departments. So number of operations that will be housed here at this complex. Back in December, Commission approved the professional services agreement with Clark, and that included the first bid package, which consisted of demolition, pre-engineered metal buildings, and precast concrete, just over $13.1 million. The item before you today is for the second bid package, which includes earthwork, ground improvements, the fueling station, and vapor mitigation. Clark submitted a proposal after taking bids with subcontractors for this work in the amount of $8,928,853. So the resolution before you is an amendment to the professional services agreement accounting for this increase and brings the currently authorized, or brings the new authorized total to $27,959,737. Now, again, as I reported to you back in December, the estimated total project cost consisting of land acquisition, design, construction, inspection, and testing and administration is anticipated to be $92 million. And that budget and financing plan will be part of your fiscal 25 budget discussion. And again, as subsequent bid packages are finalized, we will return to you for authorization of those additional expenditures.
Great, thanks. Any questions, colleagues? No, and when's the next time that the commission will hear an update on the progress here?
So we anticipate bringing there's another package out for bid right now for the electrical gear, and then March will be the interior work and concrete packages. So we'll likely be bringing, something to you within the month for another one. But and happy to give a status update. There will be a groundbreaking that's being scheduled currently, so you'll be hearing about that and invited to that as well. But yeah, we'll keep you updated as we bring bid packages, and certainly if there's any other updates desired in between, happy to provide those as well.
Great, thanks. Look forward to hearing more then. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries. Resolution number 5 is a resolution approving an extension and increase of $650,000 for trench repairs, contract 2023-1 for a total not to exceed $1,635,000.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Mr. Berkman?
So the Public Works Department performs a majority of trench repairs that take place within the city limits. However, we utilize this contract to make repairs to our water and sewer trenches, primarily in our utility customer communities, so the surrounding local agencies, as well as along MDOT trunk lines when we have those from time to time. We can also utilize this contract for isolated curb repair work or specialized repairs like brick pavement, and we work with Mobile GR on installation of traffic calming measures utilizing this contract. It was originally awarded to Lodestar Construction back on February 7th of last year, and that those contract documents reserve the right for the city to extend at our option. The original bids also included an escalation for additional years that was bid as part of the project, and Lodestar bid a 7.5% increase for this first year extension. So I'm asking for your approval to extend the contract for one more year through February of 2025, and also requesting that you authorize additional expenditures in the amount of $650,000. We then charge the costs as this contract is used to the appropriate departments that request them.
Got it. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That carries. That'll bring us to resolution number 6, which is a resolution approving a construction agreement in the amount of $39,973 and accepting a public utility easements for Marywood main building renovation. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Mr. Berkman?
So as noted, this will serve the renovation of the main building out at the Marywood campus, which is being renovated into senior housing. with public sanitary sewer and water main. The current configuration has services run from other buildings and from private services, so this will extend public sewer and water to be covered with an easement, giving the city rights to maintain those utilities. So requesting your approval of the agreement. Per the conditions of that, the developer will deposit that sum in escrow of $39,973. That covers the city's cost of services associated with inspection, plan reviews, and administration.
Thanks. Colleagues, any questions on that one? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That carries. That'll bring us to resolution number 7, which is a resolution awarding a contract with Hoekstra Roofing for City Archives and Record Center, CARC, East Building roof restoration in the amount of $1,054,250, with a total amount not to exceed $1,391,737. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. Mr. Berkman.
So the project team performed a condition assessment of the east roofs out at the City Archives and Record Center. That roof is original to the building and covers approximately 23,000 square feet. We had an infrared scan performed, and that revealed that over half of the roof insulation was saturated, which is a good indicator that it needs to be fully replaced. A feasibility study was also performed to evaluate the potential of solar and the ability to place solar panels on that roof. So that would be a separate project from this, but we made sure that the replacement system selected was able to accommodate that in the future. So bids were received on December 21st, and Hoekstra submitted that low bid of $1,054,250, which was under the engineer's estimate of $1.15 million. So asking for your approval of the contract award to Hoekstra and authorizing that not to exceed amount of $1,391,737 to come from the Capital Improvement Fund Facilities Management line item.
Great, thank you. Colleagues, any questions on that one?
No.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That carries. That'll bring us to resolution number 8, which is a resolution approving an increase of $600,000 for as-needed asbestos and lead abatement at various locations for a total amount not to exceed $900,000.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Berkman.
We have as-needed contracts in place with two contractors, Abatement and Demolition Services and Protec Environmental, for asbestos, lead, and mold abatement services at various facilities as we need them. These contracts have been extended multiple times, began with an authorized expenditure total of $300,000. We're now nearing the threshold of that in anticipation of some two, in particular, large projects that we need those services for. The relocation of city facilities over to 1500 Scribner, as well as the fire training facility. So we're asking for an increase in the authorization of this at this time of $600,000 to cover those two, as well as any other forthcoming projects that we need these services for.
Colleagues, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. It carries. That'll bring us to our last resolution, resolution number 9, which is a resolution approving an agreement with MDOT for the reconstruction of Cesar y Chavez from Clyde Park Avenue to Hall Street and authorizing $6,173,023 for the local share of project costs. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported, and Mr. Berkman.
So along with the new streets, this project will install new curb and gutter, water mains, storm and sanitary sewers, ADA ramps, 80 street trees, new street lighting, and a rapidly flashing pedestrian beacon at Hall Street. We received a congressionally directed grant of $700,000 and a Surface Transportation Program grant through MDOT of $670,000 in support of this project. So due to the federal funding that's involved, MDOT is administering the project. So MDOT received the bids already on January 5th, and Wyoming Excavators provided the low bid of just over $5.4 million, which was under the engineer's estimate of $6.2 million. So I'm asking for your approval of the agreement with MDOT, as well as the authorization of $6,173,023 for the local share of the project costs. That financing will come from the Water System Fund, the Capital Improvement Fund, which covers street lighting and storm sewer improvements, as well as the Vital Streets Fund, and we expect construction to begin this spring.
Great, thanks. Any questions, colleagues?
Chair, I have a question. So for as long as I can remember, on this stretch, we've heard complaints and concerns about the number of trucks. So with this reconstruction, is that going to address some of the complaints we've heard from neighbors? And are we working on making it a little safer for pedestrians?
Right. So, yeah, that certainly was a comment that we've heard and that we've tried to take into account with design in terms of trying to return it to a more of a commercial district / neighborhood streets, narrowing with pedestrian bump outs at corners and just trying to calm traffic in those manners. I mentioned the rapid flashing beacon going in at Hall. That's really a replacement of one that exists today. But we are putting in underground conduits for future installation that I know Mobile GR is working to secure additional funding for to bring more of those pedestrian crossings in the future as well.
All right.
Great, thank you. I just want to add my comments that I know that the residents will be very excited to hear about some of these additional safety measures for sure. Any other questions, colleagues? All right, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That carries. That will conclude our business for today. And seeing no other, we will end this meeting at 9:31.
we just need Commissioner Knight. Nabber. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. All right, thank you, ma'am. It's all right. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting on this lovely February 6th. Commissioners, we have 3 action items before us today, and then we have a briefing by one of our community partners. So I see Ms. Deb Prado in the audience, CEO and President of the Rapid. So she'll give us an update on the great work happening there, and we'll be able to ask any questions. Commissioners, we do not have any executive sessions today. Those of us who serve on Economic Development Project Team will be back in here at 12:30. And then today we have our City Commission meeting at 2 p.m. this afternoon. We have a full agenda this afternoon with a couple public hearings, so we'll be back together for that. So with that, we'll get started. Our first item is a resolution adopting the city's legislative priority agenda for 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
All right, moved and supported. We have Ms. Farrick here. We did go over this together and gave feedback. A number of changes and adjustments were made based on the feedback from this body, and then we reviewed it during our legislative team. And now it's back before us today for adoption. Ms. Farrick?
Well, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Good morning, everybody. I am excited to be back here today to present the city's legislative priority agenda for 2024. And as the mayor said, I briefed you on it in January, and you had some deliberation, and then some changes were made to reflect that discussion. And the legislative team does recommend your approval of this item.
Great, thank you. Commissioner O'Connor or Commissioner Isasi, my colleagues on the legislative team, anything to add?
I'll just say, I think, we had a hearty discussion at our Committee of the Whole meeting, and I think those priorities were incorporated, and I think just restated, so I think we've got a good final product here.
Thank you. Commissioner, anything to add?
No, I think, we've had an opportunity to connect with our local delegation, and I feel like we have great relationships with those folks, and hopefully some good opportunities on the horizon.
Yes, yes, indeed. Hopefully it'll be a good year. Commissioners, any additional questions or comments?
I just want to say I'm grateful for the process, and thank you for hearing us. I know we all come from different spaces and have different thoughts and ideas of what we want to see done, and we can't have a perfect world and everything, but I thank you, and I'm appreciative of some of the considerations that were made in this.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. And I know Commissioner Knight and Commissioner Isasi were able to join myself and City Manager at the State of the State. Also had an opportunity there to connect with a number of our West Michigan legislators and start to lay the path, hopefully, for a good year ahead. So, any final questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to a resolution to approve a request for a temporary authorization from Hopcat GR at 25 Ionia Avenue for the Irish on Ionia event that is slated to take place on March 16th. Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Support.
All right, moved and supported. City Clerk, anything to add about this event?
Yeah, this is their annual event. It's hard to believe that we're talking about March stuff already. So we're moving right through the year already. So annual event, great event, and don't see any issues with their application.
Great, thank you. This event has been going on for a number of years. I think we're all relatively familiar with it. Brings a lot of people downtown, even on chilly, wet, and cold days. It's great fun for those who attend. Any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next, Commissioners, is a resolution to set a special committee on appointments meeting for February 20th, and then to adjust our City Commission meetings and subcommittee schedules for March 5th. And this is to accommodate the proposed agenda and plan for interviews for the 3rd Ward City Commission seat. Can I get a motion?
Support?
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Commissioners, on your Outlook, you should have been invited to make some changes to your schedules on those 2 days to make accommodations for those adjustments. And then we'll make sure that it's presented and the public is aware as well.
Mayor,
Yeah, City Manager?
I just want to, because of those accommodations, we are not going to have our normally scheduled Public Safety Committee that day, and just wanted the public to be aware, as well as those participating departments.
Yeah, I believe, City Manager, are we also canceling Economic Development Project Team?
On March 5, yes.
On March?
March, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we'll make sure that those who serve on those committees are notified as well. Thank you. Thanks, City Manager. All right, with that, I think I'll turn it over to City Manager and see if he wants to say a few words before we welcome up Ms. Deb Prado to talk about the Rapid.
Well, I'll take the opportunity to do so. I want to thank both Mobile GR as well as the Rapid for collaborating. And Mayor, thank you for serving on the Rapid board and really trying to find better mobility solutions. And we've talked to the Rapid on several issues in terms of improving accessibility to shelters and safety downtown. And today they're just going to provide us an overview. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Prado to come and brief the City Commission this morning. And afterwards, we'll see if you have any questions for her.
Great, thank you. Welcome, it's good to see you outside of the Rapid. That's usually where I see you
Outside of our
during board
boardroom.
meetings. So,
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us to come share. What we thought we would do is kind of give a year in review. So our fiscal year starts October 1. So this is 22 into 23, and then we'll give you a little bit of the work we've been doing for 23, 24. Sound like a plan? So on the screen, those are the buses you'll see around town that the Rapid operates. So the large Laker Line 60-foot articulated bus. The small inset in the upper right corner is our Rapid Connect. That's our micro-mobility. We have 2 on-demand zones for dial it up, kind of like a Uber or a Lyft, and you'll be able to go anywhere in that zone from fixed route. Then our regular fixed route, we have 33 routes. And then the bottom, I'm sorry, my voice is not great today. The bottom is our paratransit, so our senior and disability services. The Wave Card is our e-fare, and the Dash, while this Mobile GR owns the buses, we operate and maintain them for the city. So how we're governed, there's a 15-person board. It's by population, so City of Grand Rapids has 5 representatives. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet, thank you. 5 representatives. We meet monthly, and then we have 3 different committees. A Planning and Technology Committee. That's mostly focused right now on our Transit Master Plan, which is a 20-year vision for what transportation and mobility looks like within the 6 cities that we're funded by, the county, and within contiguous counties. So what will 20 years bring? Present Performance Committee is where we talk about like what we're doing, how our metrics are working, our on-time performance, struggles we're having, financial impacts. When fuel prices were going very high, we were talking about that in that committee. And Finance Committee is our overall governance for our financial. So transit ridership over the years, so you can see in the gray, that was when we were GRATA, and then we turned into the Interurban Transportation Authority partnership, and then ridership has gone up. You'll see that bubble around 2013, 2014. Then you'll see 2020 and 2021. Now remember, those are our fiscal years, so 2020 looks a little higher than what we all remember March of 2020 doing to everyone's mobility at that point. Proud to say, though, during the pandemic and during the shutdown, 50% of our ridership stayed with us. That just shows you how central we are to moving essential workers and how core we are to employment and workforce. While we don't predict that ridership will ever get probably back up to the 2013, 2014 or pre-pandemic, just because life has changed post-pandemic with work from home. I think we see that in office vacancies and those types of things. We're focused on the value transportation brings. So while you'll hear a lot of people saying the buses are empty, if there's somebody on it that needs to go to work, we're running it for the right reason. If there's somebody on it who needs health care, we're running it for the right reason. If your zip code is more of a determinant of your health than your genetics, we're running it for the right reason, to be able to connect people with the services. So we're focused on the value. We don't position ourselves any longer as a bus company. We're an access company. And access changes outcomes, and outcomes changes prosperity. So that's the way we're looking at it, and we're trying to show up differently in the community. So just so you know, we weren't any different than anyone else. So we've got about 11 different comparables on the screen. You'll see ridership over the years. Everybody kind of had that bump. Everybody kind of had that dip. Everybody's coming back. So just give us a size and scope. So our operating budget is about $56 million. Our capital budget is $20 million. On the operating budget, we have 3 general revenue sources. So the millage for the 6 cities, which City of Grand Rapids is part of. Farebox, so the receipts that come in through your e-fare, through your taps, through your cash. And then state operating assistance, which runs about 30% of eligible reimbursable expenses. So not everything that we can get reimbursed from the state on. We've got a workforce of 461. Lion's share of our team members are our operators. Administrative staff is small but mighty, and our maintenance staff is the same. So Q1 last year, we kicked off our transit master plan. It's a 20-year look at mobility within the 6 cities, within the county, within contiguous counties. It's a vision, but it's also designed to be a live document, so that when existing conditions meet the requirements, we're going to be able to pull levers to do new things. One of the things that is going on right now is there's about 34 different mobility studies and transportation studies. So how do we meld those together? And what we wanted ours to be is actionable. We did a lot of public output, and you'll see that in some of these other slides. The Laker line, so we had expansion money. We had about $10 million under budget for our Laker line. We asked, so we get our capital money from the FTA, the Federal Transit Administration. We asked them if we could use those savings to reinvest. They don't give you the whole thing, but they gave us about $5 million. And with that, we created a brand-new park and ride on Lake Michigan in the center of Standale. It operates for both ways, either coming into town to campus or going out to the Allendale campus. And it's really picking up in use. The transit app, so if you don't use transit, I'd encourage you to download the app. When you want to go someplace, just check it out, type in your address. It will show you all the buses that are coming to your location that will take you to where you want to go at what time. And it'll tell you where you have to stand to be able to use that. The good part about this is, so we do some customer surveys a couple times a year. Transit app allows people to give us a rating while they're on the bus. So if we don't feel it's crowded, but someone's perception is crowded, we have a good insight into what our riders are feeling day to day. Q2, paratransit, we bought 22 new vehicles. Vehicles had been an impediment for our contractor, TransDev, to be able to deliver reliable service. So getting these new vehicles ordered and in has been a game changer for them. Our RNG partnership with the City of Grand Rapids, DTE, we're now receiving about 75% of our fuel quantity as renewable natural gas. Our Transit Master Plan stakeholder event, we kicked off with a lot of public input. What do people see? And it could be very hard to imagine what 20 years might look like, but we got a lot of good information from people on what they would like to see in terms of stop amenities and places that we go. Q3, open payments. So normally we have that Wave card, that e-fare. We've opened it up to you can pay with your credit card that has the Wi-Fi wireless. You can pay with your Apple Watch. It still gives you fare capping as long as you use the same device. So if you use your Apple Watch for 3 different payments, we would only take $3.50. It's fare capped. We take no more than that, no matter how many times you ride during that day. Active Commute Week, trying to encourage the community to get out and walk, ride transit, bike. We had people sign up. They logged about 7,000 miles. That's about 5,500 pounds of pollutants that week changed into the environment. Community garden, again, how we're showing up differently. We've got a facility over on Butterworth. That's our facilities facility. We put in a nice green lawn, but it seemed like a food desert there for fresh food. So we partnered with the Neighborhood Association, put in community garden, and that's been expanding. Q4, we re-signed our Laker Line contract. That's a 10-year agreement with GVSU. They're a wonderful partner, as the city is with us. Our family fleet, so every time that we get a new fleet of buses, the federal government requires us to keep buses for 10 years, or 12 years, sorry. 12 years, we ask our employees for the names of their children who are 0 to 12 and their grandchildren that are 0 to 12. So if you see a bus going by and you'll see Noah's name on the back of that, that's one of our employees' children or grandchildren. It's a safety reminder that we want you to come to work and get home for the family. That's our extended family. Route 33 Express, we've been trying to be more customer-led, trying to let our customers tell us where they want to go. Route 33, we had that on-demand zone in Walker. It wasn't as greatly used as we wanted it to be. So we asked, and 16 different businesses came together and said, we don't want an app. Our employees are heavily hourly, don't have smartphones, and we want just a regular bus route. So we installed a regular bus route to go through the industrial area. One of the things that it wasn't was fast. So in fall, we changed it from going down as the Route 9, changing at the end of Alpine, and doing another route off, flag route off of that. We changed it to Express. So a bus goes from Rapid Central Station onto 131, gets off at Alpine, the same way you would drive your vehicle if you were going to go to work using a single passenger car, and cut 25 minutes off the commute out there. Again, it's connecting people to employment opportunities. Our ridership, 6.2 million rides across the system. That was a almost 10% increase from the year prior. So that brings us to this year. So on the top of our list, and these are in no particular order, but the top three are really three that are very important to us, is reach a collective bargaining agreement with our labor partner, the ATU. Our contract expires in June. We'd like to have a contract wrapped up and agreed to way before that. Complete our transit master plan while we're being able to implement the short-term viable service changes that are identified. And like every sector, analyze our labor force, the work environment, and develop some solutions to improve our attraction and our retention of employees. And we'll be working with our labor partner on that. This year, our budget's $60 million for operating, and capital budget's about $20. When I mentioned earlier that the Federal Transit Administration, we get formula funding, basically miles driven and customers served, and then we can apply for discretionary grants. So we can use capital only in investments, so for capital buildings, for buses. So I get asked a lot, how much is a bus? 3 years ago, I would have told you it was $650,000 for a regular CNG bus. Now it's about $850,000. If we change to electric buses, they're about $1.7 million a bus. We may need 2 buses to do our duty cycle, given our environment and our topography. That means we need a bigger facility. That's where our capital dollars would come in. Hydrogen fuel cell buses are about $1.7 million also. So that's a lot of money driving around on the street. Q1, our partnership with Mobile GR and our Dash contract renewed. That's a really important partnership for us. Certainly, all the connectivity that it provides to the customers in the city, but also to Rapid Central Station, and the changes that were made continue to produce great results. We procured 9 new RCNG buses, so renewable natural gas. When we entered into our partnership, unlike others who had to build a lot of infrastructure for charging, a lot of hydrogen, either truck it in or electrolysis, we've been able to go to RNG with not having to change a nozzle, a fitting, a fueling, a bus. Everything is exactly the same. We entered into a 5-year contract for 70 new bus shelters, so some of this isn't glamorous work, but it's important for our customers to have great amenities when they're waiting for the bus and to make it a very positive, safe environment. And our ridership grew about 7.5% compared to Q1 22-23. Moving forward, our positive hiring trends. So we've really had a laser focus on how do we recruit and retain people. Has had the impact of us being able to go 7 days a week with the Dash that you had asked for way back in May, and we weren't able to do it due to labor shortages. Our child care center, so we're partnering with the YMCA, Head Start, and GRPS to bring a child care center into Rapid Central Station. It will have about 100 slots. Those are income-based. It will be designed for our customers to be able to go from the platform, drop their children off, go on the rest of the way to work, and repeat that process when they come home at night. And making just some general placemaking changes at Rapid Central Station. With that, I'm happy to take any questions. Or Steve heads up basically all the rubber meets the road group. So all the operators and our mechanics, our facilities team. So questions you ever wanted to know?
Thanks, Deb, for that great presentation. So a couple things I just will add, and then I'll see if my colleagues have questions or comments. One, I really want to thank one of my fellow board members at the Rapid, Tracy Kaufman, who's been really instrumental in helping us think through and be creative about utilization of space and bringing a child care center to the station. So I want to appreciate her and the Kellogg Foundation for their support of really looking at this as an option. And then commissioners, one thing I would also like to add, we know that the Rapid is multi-jurisdictional, obviously, with the 6 cities, but we know that there are significant mobility needs outside of the 6 cities. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that the Metro Council, in partnership with the county, they are also looking at doing a countywide mobility analysis to look at where the needs are and potential opportunities. Deb serves on will be serving on a steering committee and a group looking at that work, not saying that the Rapid will go countywide, that's not the intent, but we know that there are needs outside of the cities, that some folks live in the city and they work outside the city and they still struggle to get to that job, and vice versa. And so I've been a part of a number of conversations with the county. I know the Metro Council has been actively involved, as has the Rapid, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that study what it says as we look at overall needs within the county, and then potential ways that we can partner to find some solutions for folks. So just want to make sure that you're aware of some of the other big picture work happening around mobility, in addition to obviously what's happening here at the city and at the Rapid. So, commissioners, questions or comments? Commissioner?
Yes, thanks, Mayor, and thank you for that information because I know that's something that's being talked about quite a bit. I'm really excited about the child care partnership. I know that was something that the governor talked about at the State of the State and expanding early childhood access to all families so that they are able to get their children into those spaces, and we know the impact that early childhood has on our children. So I think this is going to be a huge partnership because we need more in our communities, but finding very creative ways to impact those needs is really helpful, and this is one of them. So I really appreciate that. And then also, I know with the Michigan CIA, we have been talking about, as we change zoning and change codes and we become a more dense city and a more walkable city, but then that's also not having a lot of cars on the road. So how do people get from one point to the other quickly, safely, and efficiently? And I think that's something that we have been talking about. How can we do that, especially when you think about Michigan, how it expands and how a huge part of our workforce is downtown. Right? But then there's nowhere for them to actually park. So how do we make those spaces more accessible for them to get more cars off the road and have people be able to get where they need to be when they need to be there? So thank you very much. Thank you for this presentation. It was great.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioners, other questions or comments? Commissioner O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm appreciative of the work that the Rapid does, and as well as the partnership with the Dash, and improving that service. I think one thing that I've been, I've talked about for a long time up here is just, providing that dignified ridership experience for those choosing to use the thing. And I think, that's a two-way street. It's that there's things, I think, expectations on our end for things that we need to do to help get people to places where your buses can pick them up. But I think there's some expectations, on the other hand, about, what it looks like when you're waiting for the bus. And so, I'm glad to see your investment in some additional covered bus shelters. I know that's something that we've also prioritized and made some investments to improve on. But I'd still like to see further emphasis on, trash receptacles at bus stops, both for the user experience as well as the surrounding neighbor experience that has that in front of them, that they become collection points for things. I think just, figuring out how to make that a reality at all locations, whether it's a covered bus stop or not, would go a long way to engendering some support from business districts and residential that surrounds those stops. We've invested, I think, significantly in snowplow on major streets. It's really hard to walk down Leonard Street in the wintertime and get to a bus stop unless it's plowed. So, I know the city's doing that, but again, trying to figure out how do you get people to your bus stops if you want ridership to go up, figuring out how to make sure that, that happens in more locations. And again, it's a two-part problem. And then, again, hopefully this year, my guy Tim Berkman's going to put a sidewalk on Collindale. But I have said for a long time that getting again, we talk about getting people last mile, right? And last mile is really difficult on a section of Grand Rapids. Everything west of Colville, there's no sidewalks, so it's a lot of no one's actually walking to the bus on any of those sections, and there's not significant public parking till you get to Walker to be able to access those bus stations. So, how do we better partner to get people from, if we really want people to walk from a neighborhood to get to a bus stop and there's no sidewalk to get there, then it's a fool's errand. It's not going to happen. So, I don't expect to have an answer to that, but I want to figure out how we better get people so they can access your services.
Totally agree, and there's definitely much more work to be done.
All right, let's go Commissioner Coyle and then Commissioner Sassy.
Good morning. I didn't catch your name earlier.
Deb Prado.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Prado. Thank you for the presentation. Lots of exciting stuff here, and I appreciate Commissioner O'Connor's comments. I have heard similar sentiments around safety on buses, particularly from some of our high school students who do use it to get to and from school, and seeing things that are unacceptable within public transport. So I am curious about some of your efforts around safety. I also am curious on where some of the last mile to work, where that stands. I know that was a big conversation years ago. I'm sure it's still a big part of the conversation, but I haven't been as privy to it. So curious where that is and where you all fall into that. And then lastly, there was an employer, they might be in the third or second. My geography is a little mixed up in my head right now. But they did a study of their employees, and many of them worked or lived within a 3-mile radius of that building, but nearly everyone drove to work. Because the route wasn't as efficient, the bus stop didn't have coverage, so, being exposed to the weather. So, excited to hear that you all are investing in shelters. I'm curious about where some of those might lie and if the one that I have in mind might be on your list or not, or if I can share that so that it gets on your list. But I'm also interested in your process of studying those routes and updating those routes and making sure that, as we talk about business districts and walkability and helping folks access, events downtown, events in the neighborhood, as well as work and healthcare providers, how do, especially as the city grows, changes, where people are moving to, and making sure that that's up to date and most efficient. Because that story about most employees living within 3 miles, but no one really taking public transport was I think an eye-opener for me as I listened to that constituent. And so curious about how you all make sense of that and plan for that.
So the first question on safety. So we've asked our operators what are the biggest problems on the bus. So the first one that comes up is vaping. And the first one that comes up during school dismissal time is vaping and fighting. And so what we're trying to do is work on a courtesy campaign. Not a big fan of all the prohibitions that you can't do. I'm a fan of what you can ask people to do, which is easy to get up from your seat if there's someone with a disability, a mom with a stroller, to be able to do that. Vaping, we've told them it happens in our facility. When the daycare starts up, that's going to be a game changer there. I'm hoping that we'll be able to provide some after-school jobs there that connect some young people with early education internships or something like that. So I think when you care about a place, it changes how you behave in the place. And so I'm hoping to be able to give some opportunities there. In terms of first mile, last mile, a real foray into that was our comprehensive operational analysis. That was completed with in 2020, so 2021 we implemented it. Data's probably a little bit off because it was pre-pandemic, but there were two industrial parks, one out by the airport in Kentwood and then one in Walker that were growing quite rapidly, that weren't served well by a 40-foot bus. And so we started the Rapid Connect, which is our app-based book a ride, and it will take you anywhere within that zone or connect you with fixed route. So the good part of it is it isn't an additional cost. It's considered to be a transfer. So as long as you transfer within 90 minutes, it's another free ride to take you the rest of the way. Is it productive? There's this ongoing money and how many people are riding and what's the value of it. So if you ask me the value of connecting people to jobs, we're hitting a home run. If you ask me how much it's costing, we're striking out. So there has to be that balance that we can find there, but we're committed to access. I have a similar story. Whitecaps uses the same staffing company as Van Andel does for their event days. 400 people are employed at Van Andel. You know our station's about a mile or a block and a half from there. That same 400 Grand Rapids residents who are willing and able to work, but for transportation, only 200 of them can work out at the ballpark. That's kind of sad. So how do we get to think bigger? And the county mobility, they've been a great partner so far in taking our transit master plan and building on it. We're not redoing the same studies, we're building on those studies. I don't know the shelter you have in mind, but if you shoot me an email, I'll see if it's on the list. It's done by boardings and alighting, so the busiest stops. And I appreciate the comment on trash. We get asked that a lot. It ends up being a partnership with the city of Grand Rapids, but in some of our other cities, we don't have that partnership for emptying barrels, and so that becomes a problem. I would love to have, kind of the Adopt a Stop or a Snow Angels program that's expanded for shoveling out, because accessibility is problematic. We see that even outside of our station when a customer in a wheelchair can't move past the platform because of the snowbanks. So we're working on all those things. It will take time, but I think we're at a moment in time in the state where transit has some lift under its wings. We've got some very positive things happening in Lansing, and we've got some positive attention within the growth report. So I think those things will all help us. What we need to do is, I need some partners. I need to be in the room when you're thinking about something, because it's very hard to build for a 40-foot bus or a 60-foot bus after the parking lot's already done, and no one's thought about how we're going to turn around. So I've had really good success in being included in some of those conversations. We have an amphitheater that's going in right across from our operations center. We'd love to be the mobility solution to eliminate cars during those event evenings, but I need time to be able to purchase buses and be able to set up routes and be able to do extensions of like a bus rapid transit.
Thanks. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you. I hope you're enjoying Grand Rapids. I think the first time we met was like when you had first came here from, so it's, New York City, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you have lots of activities to do here and can hang out till 11 o'clock at night and.
I'm in bed by 11.
Thank you for the presentation. I think this is, I agree with all the comments that my colleagues made. I think one of the things that is really not a question, but a suggestion is that particularly at our meetings that we have at 7 p.m., we get a number of concerns about transportation in general, but specifically about busing. And it's not just you, it would be general themes that we do have some involvement in, but we're not the only people, just as, was noted about, obviously, the multi-jurisdictional piece. And I think at least once a month, I have an email from somebody that says, City of Grand Rapids needs to fix whatever it might be, right? Particular when things are being picked up, an option. My husband, a lot of family members are regular riders as well. And I think the piece that I wanted to share was if there is an opportunity from somebody on your team, I know a number of people more on the administration side, to come and attend one of those meetings just to hear what people have to say. I think watching it online is great, but I think being in this space, it also, we might not be able to resolve some of those things. Like you said, I need a little bit more time. Your lead time for different vehicles is a lot more, but I would invite you or other team members who would be most appropriate to come to those meetings to hear what some of those perspectives are. I think that helps us to answer some of the questions and to be the best advocates for whatever, usually it's somebody's mad about something, I'll just say. It's very rarely it's like something's going well. So I do think, our last meeting, we heard from a number of individuals who are very much asking us to continue to make investments in bike lanes. And so how do we have this coexistence of all these modes of mobility? And so I think it's a really good timing that we had a lot of people come and talk about that. We're having you all come today. And it sounds like we need to maybe do a campaign where we're like, no vaping, be nice to each other. Right before the pandemic, I did something that was like tacos on transit. And we got some tacos from a local business owner. I think it was in the First Ward. Yeah. And we just drove around and just trying to, again, continue to remind people about the options that exist. We would do these things in a larger city, but it's not as natural for whatever reason here in our own home city. So thank you for what you're doing. I think there was a number of things that I wasn't as familiar with the child care piece, and I think I think you're right. It's going to be a game changer. It'll change the environment that people sort of coming in, and we know it's absolutely a need. So thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing this, and look forward to future conversations.
Thank you. And so about a year and a half we created, so after I first moved here, I met with about 120 people in about 90 days. And one of the things that I heard consistently was, I've never met anybody from the Rapid before. And so we created 2 new positions in outreach. And I'd be happy to attend myself or Steve, or have our outreach folks attend. And we really do get a lot more feedback that way, and we can solve real-time problems. Schedules, it's a 3-month process to put a schedule in place. So March 15th, we're already planning for May 8th service. So it's part of that cycle, but it doesn't mean that we can't be nimble. In restoring the dash to 7 days a week, that was off pick, and that was just added to our extra board as we had more labor. So happy to try and work through some of those problems with great solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? All right. I will thank you one more time for your leadership and your work. We really appreciate the partnership at the Rapid, along with all of our other jurisdictions that are around that table. So thank you, Deb, for being here. All right, Commissioners, any final questions or comments? All right, with that, I'll close this meeting. EDPT will be back here at 12:30, and then we're back here at 2 together as a full commission.